Goedendag, good day. How are you, lovely human being, feeling at this moment? My name is Phylicia Joy Kloes, and in today's video, we're going to dive into the history of Sinterklaas. I am Dutch, and as long as I can remember, I have been celebrating this Dutch tradition called Sinterklaas. I was curious to see what I could find online about Saint Nicolas's history, because Saint Nicholas actually did exist. However, throughout the years, this tradition has gotten its shape and had unlearned certain additions as well. But more on that later on. Nicholas was born in the year 280 in the city Patara in Lycia. This country does not exist anymore, and neither does this city/village. However, this area of Earth is now known as Turkey. So Nicholas was a Christian, and his uncle was actually a priest. And I believe that Nicholas was inspired to be more involved in the church as well. And according to my readings, a lot of people were looking up to him because of his way of living. Nicholas was pretty disciplined with his Christian belief, and what he did was he prayed a lot for other people, and that really inspired others. When Nicholas was 19 years old, he became more of a member for the church, and he was helping the priest out. So when Nicholas's uncle went to Jerusalem for a Christianity travel adventure, Nicholas actually took over the church, where he showed that he was very capable of being a priest himself, or a bishop himself. In 325, he actually became the bishop of Myra, another city in Lycia back in the day. And there is a story that goes around that he had helped 3 sisters who were a part of a poor man's family. So this man didn't know what to do. He didn't have enough money to provide a gift for his 3 daughters when they would get married. Nicholas heard about this, and the story goes that Nicholas actually threw bags of coins in the window of these 3 girls. And with this money, these girls were therefore not forced to go into prostitution, but they actually had some money to provide their future husbands with. I also read in one of these stories that one of these bags of money actually fell into one of their shoes. And what you'll come to learn later on in this video is that we still have something to do with shoes and putting things in there. So the interesting thing is that when I was in high school, I learned that Nicholas actually gave bread to poor children. However, I wasn't able of finding anything like that on the internet. So part of me is hoping that it's true. However, since I cannot back it up, I cannot list that as something that Nicholas did. But that is something that I was told, that he took care of the poor. On December 6th, Nicholas died. And according to some websites, this was in 335. Some websites claim it was in the year 342. So I'm not actually sure what year this man had passed away. However, his death, which was the 6th of December, still has an impact to this day, which I'll get more into later on. So in the year 550, the church actually declared Nicholas to be holy, and therefore the name Saint Nicholas had been given to him. And throughout the years, more stories about Saint Nicholas had been added. There is one story where 3 children were lost in the woods, and they walked across a man. According to some stories, he was just a host of travelers and letting people sleep in his house. And according to other stories, this man was a butcher, so not sure what to believe here. This man supposedly killed the 3 children and put them inside of water in a wooden box. Saint Nicholas came to them when he was alive, obviously, in the story, and brought these children back to life. And because of this event or story or legend or myth, however you may call it, Saint Nicholas was also seen as a savior for children. Another story that popped up after the death of Nicholas was when he was alive, people claimed that he went to the sea and the waters were really crazy. And Saint Nicholas, at that time Nicholas, calmed the sea down. And because of that, he therefore is also a protectant spirit of sailors and anyone who is doing anything with water. So in Belgium, Saint Nicholas Day is still celebrated on the 6th of December. However, in the Netherlands, it is celebrated on the 5th of December. So what happened during the Middle Ages? A lot of children either got some coins or some candy. Throughout the year, Saint Nicholas had been celebrated especially by children. I even read that some children were off on December 6th. In the 15th century, children started to put their shoe ready on the night of December 5th. The next day, December 6th, then it was filled. But most likely, this was filled by the rich people in town who gave them coins and candy. There was the church in Utrecht, which is a city in the middle of the Netherlands, who hosted this event for the children. And as I mentioned, the people who had more to spend were actually giving to the children. In the 16th century, we saw that children would get some more dolls that were made out of cookie dough in their shoe, besides the coins and other candies. But the cookie doll became more prone to the celebration of Sinterklaas. Something else that was more prone in the 16th century was whenever children were bad, they would get what is called in Dutch de roe. Basically, it's a bunch of sticks, like for example, like the broomsticks, and they would get that in their shoe because they have been bad, for example. To be honest, the 16th century wasn't really that child-friendly. I mean, the children were often threatened to behave well, otherwise they would get the broomsticks or they would be taken in the bag and brought back to Spain. Because, as the story goes, Saint Nicholas was born in what we currently know as Turkey. However, Saint Nicholas now lives in Spain. What we also see around this time period is that Saint Nicholas has been portrayed in many different ways. He's either really a protector of the children, or he could be seen as someone to be fearful of as a children's point of view, so therefore the children would behave. So then something interesting happened. In 1850, the writer Jan Schenkman wrote a book called Saint Nicolas and Zijn Knecht. And during this time period, colonialism and slavery and exportation and unethical business were quite common around that time period for the people in power. And this also had an impact on the celebration of Sinterklaas. What is crazy to me is that this one writer who made a book in 1850 had such a huge impact on how people started to see the Sinterklaas celebration. What this writer did was he wrote a story about Saint Nicholas. However, he had a helper, and this helper was black-faced. And around this time period, there were a lot of books written where there were these characters that were blackface, were often portrayed as kind of dumb, were often portrayed as not so handy. Honestly, really messed up stuff that to this day still has an impact on people's well-being, on the view of how people look at others, but also how people look at the celebration of Saint Nicholas. Interestingly, in 1930, there was a newspaper called the Groene Amsterdammer who had the first critique on blackface with the Saint Nicholas celebration. 1930, that is insane that it took that long for people to stand up and be like, yo, this is messed up. The 1st of July in 2011, this organization, Zwarte Piet is Racisme, started. And this group try to spread the word about how messed up it is to have a blackface as a caricature during this time of year. And that it's racism and that it's not okay and that we have to stop it because literally there's a group of people being excluded of the fun. I know as a kid, one of my friends was called a Zwarte Piet before. People who are still pro Zwarte Piet just don't get it. And probably will not watch this video, to be fair. But, or have been clicking away ever since I've mentioned this. This was a campaign for people to wake up. There were also other organizations, like for example, Nederland wordt wakker, which means Netherlands wake up. This organization was led by the following people, and in advance, I'm sorry for mispronouncing their names. Jerry, Afri, Raoul Balai, and Quincy Gario. And in 2011, they had their first manifest in Dordrecht, which is a city here in the Netherlands. And they were standing there with shirts that was saying Zwarte Piet is racism. And the people were responding pretty okay. However, the police violently brought them to the ground, which is unfortunately something that is still happening. There still are cities in the Netherlands, it's 2024, there still are cities who are holding on to this blackface, racist ideology and think that without it, it's not the same celebration. However, it's a celebration for kids. They don't need it. It's the adults who try to hold on. At the end of 2013 and beginning of 2014, the organization Kick Out Zwarte Piet has started, which is a collaboration of Zwarte Piet is Racisme, Stop Blackface, and Zwarte Piet Niet, which are three different organizations that became one. And they want to demand change. Kick Out Zwarte Piet is a great organization. They have been active as Kick Out Zwarte Piet for 10 years now. And this is going to be the last year of the people who are hosting everything. So 2025 will be their last year. And then they have said, we're going to quit, but I hope it's not fully going to quit because you and I can both, you know, spread awareness and raise our voices whenever needed because racism is not okay. Never. The caricature of blackface is a stereotyping way. It's a dehumanizing way and it is oppressing Black people. So it truly needs to stop. It needs to stop. So I live in a city that is pretty modern, I would say. However, the other day when I was going to the grocery store, I saw an owner of a store have some things in front of the window, considering blackface. And I just walked in and I asked, can I ask you to take it down? He said no. I asked him, are you familiar with the organization Kick Out Zwarte Piet, who has been working actively for 10 years? Yes, he was. Then he said to me, I don't want to throw it away. And I said, well, I'm not asking you to throw it away. I'm just asking you to take it down. He again said no. I left and I told my partner, we're never going to shop there again. Because, you know, during summertime, of course, those decorations are gone. But this adult is just choosing to put his head in the sand and only care about himself and not being empathic. This guy is not open to learn what impact this image has on the population. It's really not necessary. So that is the not so fun part of the history of Sinterklaas. And I truly blame the writer in 1850 for doing this. So now on a more positive tone, in 2001, the Sinterklaas Journaal started, which is this news outlet for kids about Saint Nicolas and his adventures. And thankfully, they have evolved in this show to not show blackface anymore. They do have face paint with like a little bit of stripes. And the reason for that is according to the story, Saint Nicholas goes over the roofs of people's houses at nighttime, and they go through the chimney to fill up the shoes of the kids. A lot of houses, of course, don't have chimneys, so then they just use the door, as my parents told me, but therefore the stripes on the faces. Something else that is still kind of similar compared to the original Saint Nicholas is the clothing. This old man wears a pointy hat with a cross on it representing the Christianity beliefs. He also wears the longer dress as well as a mantle. Mantle? No, mantle is something else in English. Like a cape. And he has this stick to walk with, which ends with a swirl. And when I looked back into the history of Saint Nicholas, that swirl represents eternity. Something children still do to this day is every once in a while they are allowed to set their shoe up for receiving gifts. A lot of times children put drawings in their shoe or a carrot for the horse that Saint Nicholas is riding on, and at nighttime Saint Nicholas comes, takes the carrot, takes the drawings, and fills up the shoe with a gift. Usually in the shoe it's smaller gifts. Sometimes it's, for example, the chocolate coins, it's these hard cookies called kruidnoten, or the softer version pepernoten. They also use schuimpjes, or they use frogs and mice, which sounds gross, but this is this sweet chocolatey treat within the inside. It's kind of like marzipan. Marzipan is also really big around this time of year. Plus chocolate letters. Children often get a letter of their name in chocolate. What Saint Nicholas and Piet do as well is they throw with strooigoed. And this comes back to the story of Saint Nicholas giving the bags of money to the girls, where one of the bags landed in a shoe, hence why the shoe thing is still happening. But the throwing part is still, to this day, a part of the Saint Nicholas celebration, and all the mix of candies that I just mentioned before are either thrown at the kids, which as a kid I experienced. They, especially the kruidnoten, can land quite hard, but I still liked it as a kid, or they just hand it to the children in their hands. So the clothing of Piet are also quite similar throughout the years. Piet has this beret on with a feather. The clothing are often pretty colorful, not too tight to the skin, but like more loosely fitted, kind of like Renaissance vibes. However, that doesn't match the origin of Saint Nicholas, hence why it is another way to prove that Piet was just written into the story. I mentioned earlier on in this video the bag of Saint Nicholas, that when children were bad in the 16th century, they were taken with them in the bag to Spain. However, lately, this bag is just filled with gifts, and the children receive on Pakjesavond, on gift evening, which is in the Netherlands on the 5th of December, they receive gifts, and oftentimes it is all put in that big bag. So there are a lot of songs as well that are sang during this time of year. Thankfully, a lot of the songs have been rewritten to where the racist, black-faced caricature is not part of the songs anymore. So when you are older than me, then you probably have learned these songs in a bad way, so to speak. But as a teacher, of course, I have grown with the celebrations and the changes throughout the years, and we don't sing the songs in a racist way anymore, thankfully. Something else I want to mention that is a part of the Saint Nicholas celebration nowadays is that Saint Nicholas comes to the Netherlands from Spain with a steamboat. I'm not sure what the proper word is in English. However, on this boat, there are all these bags with all the gifts. They arrive in the Netherlands. It's this whole big celebration. I believe like halfway of November, they arrive, and on TV, there's a live stream. But every city, of course, has an arrival of the man and his friends. So it's celebrated throughout the whole Netherlands. And when you're older, like I am, it is celebrated just a little differently. We don't put our shoe down. However, I do sometimes for fun put like a chocolate letter inside the shoe of my partner and I. The other day, my family came over and we just had a fun get together. We just had all the snacks and we started to play a game. Originally for adults to celebrate Saint Nicholas is you have pieces of paper and then they go in a big box. And then you take one and whoever is on there, you get the gift for that person and you just decide within the group how much value that gift should have. A lot of the times also when you celebrate when you're a little older is you make a poem and you craft something that you can put the gift inside that has to do with whoever you picked the paper from. We did not do that in our house. I did not craft something and put a gift in there and wrote a poem. I didn't do that at all. We actually just played a game with papers. It's called the paper game. And you have about 4 to 6 papers each. You write words on there. It could be a person, an item, a place, whatever. And then you fold it twice. And then there are 3 different rounds. First round is to let the person guess what the word is without saying the word. Second round is letting the person guess the word with saying only one word. And third round is to act out the word and let the other person guess. And we did that in 2 teams. So that was a fun little thing that we did. But most often during this time, when the adults don't want to make the craft where the gift is inside, or they don't want to make the poems, what they can do, which we could have done that, but we ended up last minute not to, which is a dice game. So you get a couple of gifts and then you play with the dice, and depending on what number it lands on, either you move all your gifts to the left or to the right, or you get to take a gift, you get to open a gift, you get to grab a gift from the middle. So it's this dice game. As a teacher, this time of year for the young kids is crazy. Kids get really, really busy. However, I will make another video to explain all the things I do as a teacher around this time of year, so stay tuned for that one. Thank you so much for diving into the history of Saint Nicholas with me, and I hope to see you in another video. Bye-bye!